Good morning, Rabbi Isai. Rabbi Isai, your hands have tumah. Even today, they have a little tumah. That's why we wash our hands before we eat bread, based on these sugyas over here. Your hands, I'm going to tell you what they are. In tumah, it starts from the worst of the worst. Avi avaisa tumah, a dead person. The next level, and it always goes down. It steps one step down. A rat, a dead rat, is avatuma. A rat that touches a person becomes what? Drops one thing below avatuma, becomes a rishon. Now, if a rishon touches something else, it becomes a sheni. Hands have a halacha of sheni. Only with the Rabbanan. Rabbanan said you're a sheni. Now, how much damage could a sheni do? Sheni can't do that much damage. It can only damage something that's super sensitive. Something strong, like an apple, like regular food, chulin, it can't do anything to it. It can't penetrate chulin. What could it damage? Truma, kachim. Okay. Here's an interesting question. What if a person, we can show the chart if you want. This is the chart of Yahweh. It's a tumah, there's avat tumah, drops, keeps on dropping down. Rishon, Sheni, Shlishi. The more kedusha something has, the more sensitive it is. So Meiser Sheni has kedusha, but less than Truma. Truma has kedusha, but less than Kachim. Kachim has kedusha, less than Paraduma. We never even speak about Paraduma, but we threw it on the list. We're not even going to speak about it today. It's not even in the video. I have a beautiful video to show this concept again. If you have hands that you didn't wash, they're Sheni, and they touch Meiser Sheni. Meiser Sheni, what's Meiser Sheni? Every time you have fruit, you give a little bit to the Kayan, a little bit to the Levi, and a little bit to yourself. And you bring it to your slime. Let's say you touch the fruit with your non-tar hands. What happens to the fruit? Huh? Anybody want to take a guess? It's sheni. Does the fruit become a shlishi?
Put water on it?
It's mukhshel kabel tumah. Obviously, it's mukhshel kabel tumah. I'm saying, does it have enough power to penetrate a meiser sheni? So we're going to see in the Gemara. Also, a guy went to the mikveh, he's completely tar, and sticks his hands into a house of tzaras. Does his body become tamei? Do his hands become tamei? Is it possible for his hands to become tamei without his body becoming tamei? Is there such a thing? All these interesting things, but much, much more. You're going to see, we're starting off with unbelievable svaras on the first few lines. So holding my gufa. What do we have yesterday? We had yesterday a svara from Rish Lakish. Rish Lakish says, since the trachea, the breathing pipe, is connected to the lungs, that's how an animal breathes. So it says Rish Lakish, a chiddush, he holds that if you cut the kana, if you cut the trachea, then it's basically as if you take the trachea out of the body. It's not relevant anymore. And since it's not relevant anymore, then whatever is attached to it, the lungs are not relevant in terms of treifa. You can't puncture the lung once the trachea is removed from the body. Once you shech the trachea, it's considered halachically as if you removed it. It's not even there. So whatever's connected to it down the line is not there. It's dead. It's out of the body. It's in a box. So if it's in a box, you take a screwdriver, start poking it. You can't make an animal treifa. You can't render this animal treifa once you shech the kana, he says. Now what if you puncture the kishka at this point? The kishka is not connected to the trachea. It's connected to the esophagus, to the eating tube. So if you puncture the kishka after you shech the trachea, l'chayra, it should be a treifa. You just made a treifa because it is connected in the body. If you shecht the kana, then it's removed as if it's removed, and then you punctured the lung, kosher. This whole thing only makes sense with a lung that's connected because the lung is connected to the trachea, to the breathing tube. But if somebody takes a screwdriver and punctures the kishka after he shechted and cut the trachea, they're not connected. And the Mela, what will happen? By puncturing the kishka, you rendered it a treifa. You can't eat this animal. A big nafkamina. If the kishka is outside of the body, halachically, so you take a screwdriver, you cut it up into pieces, it doesn't matter. You didn't make the animal treifa. But if the kishka is part of the animal, and you made a hole in it, even though you shechted one out of the two simanim, you made it a treifa. So Reb Zera says, I don't like what you said. No, not true. And then the Gemara is going to say, maybe Reb Zera took it back. And the Gemara says, well, maybe no. Maybe Reb Zera was just talking to Rava. He made a point to Rava, but he didn't take it back. So let's see. Says Reb Zera, Ma'ach Reb Zera, Ma'ach Hashanol the Basimon Treifa, Hitarta, Mali Bereya, Mali B'nei Ma'ayin. Says Reb Zera, this animal is half dead. What does half dead mean? In order to kill an animal halachically, you have to cut two simanim. So he killed one siman, he cut one siman, he killed 50% of the animal. You killed 50% of the animal. So now you cannot make a treifa in a 50% dead animal. If the animal is 100% dead, could you make a hole in its heart and say, oh, I made it a treifa? No, it's 100% dead. So too, if it's 50%. What's the difference if I disconnect the trachea and I can no longer puncture the lung because that part is dead? So that part is dead. The whole animal is dead. 50% is dead. Halachically, it should be dead. And once the animal is dead in any area of the body, so too the kishka. Reb Zera took that back. The boy Reb Zera, nikvu b'nei ma'ayim ben simin l'simin mayil. Listen to this. I'm telling you, this is so geschmack today, but you got to pay attention. You have two simonim. You have the breathing pipe and the eating pipe, the trachea and the esophagus. When a person shechs an animal, a regular animal, what does he accomplish by the shechita? He accomplishes two things. What are the two things he accomplishes? Rabbi say, you could eat it, and what else? And it's no longer nevela. Two things. He removes the tumah of nevela, which a cow that just drops dead is a nevela. So he was successful in removing the tumah, and he also allows you to eat it. Listen to this. Maridik Svara. When I shecht the first siman, nothing's wrong with the animal. So the first siman that I shechted, the kana, I accomplished two things through that. 50% of two things. I'm on the way of accomplishing two things. I could eat it, no tumah. But all of a sudden, in slow motion, somebody punctures the kishka. Boom! It becomes a treifa. And then I continue and I shecht the esophagus. What does the esophagus accomplish now? At most, that there shouldn't be tumah. You can't eat this animal anymore. This animal has a punctured kishka. Yeah? She can never eat it. It's a treifa. It has the punctured kishka before you finish the shechita. She can't eat it. At most it could do, remove the tumah. Can you combine two things that are very different? Why? The first siman accomplished two things. The second siman accomplishes one thing. 1 and 2 don't go together. That's the Gemara Shaila. You hear this? So, says the Gemara, Nikvu b'nei ma'ayin, the kishka got punctured and the animal became treif, being similar siman, in between shechting the trachea and the esophagus. Now, mimistar siman rishon, the siman shein, and the tire medin aveleloi. Could I say, oh, but at the end of the day there was a good shechita and therefore it's not an avela? Or no, you can't combine things that are very different. One has two outcomes. It removed the issur of eating. You're allowed to eat it, and the tumah, and the other one only accomplished tumah, so they don't go together. I'm reading Lav Hainu the Boy Ilfa. Oh, Rabbi, so we're going to a whole other sugya now. So if you're spacing out until now, brand new and geschmack. We have something called a ben pekuah. It's always a fascinating sugya. When a cow has a fetus inside, and you shech the mother, so you don't have to shech I spared you the pictures. Rabbi Avram Weiser sent me real pictures of them opening up a thing and finding a ben pekuah. So you open it up, and there's a baby, and the baby gets up and starts running away. So logically, you don't have to shech the baby. You can take a bat, hit it over the head, and eat it, because the shechita of the mother covers the baby. What if the baby extends its hand outside of the mother's body and then you shecht it? So obviously you can't eat that foot that came out because it wasn't inside the mother's body. But it's not an avela. Not an avela. Because the shechit of the mother covers that. What if it extends, listen to that, I'm telling you, it's geschmack stuff today. What if it extends its foot in between the two simanim? Shech siman 1, and then it sticks its hand out, and then siman 2. So that's the same exact question that we just asked. Since siman 1 accomplishes more than siman 2, so maybe they don't combine together. It's a different type, now they're different. Before we said it accomplishes 2 things versus 1 thing, so maybe they don't combine. Is me mitzaref, that I skipped the boy of a hoiti over the other bein similar simin mahu. Between the two simonim, it stuck out, extended its hand. Me mitzaref simin rishon, simin shein, it's higher than the beiloi loi. Can I say, well, I continue checking, I got a second simin in there, so it's no longer an avela, even though it stuck its hand out afterwards? I can't, or no. Why not? Because the first simin allows me to eat the entire fetus. The second siman doesn't allow me to eat the fetus. So mela, the different type of simanim, they do different things. So it's a very similar question. But what's the Gemara's point there? Here's the Gemara's point. Atkan lo yiboilei, Reb Zera didn't ask a question whether I could combine the two simanim, yes, no, ela tarma de nevela. It was one question, can this animal have tumor or not? But this animal is 100% osatid. Why is it osatid, Rabbi Isai? Because it became a treifa. You told me that Reb Zera holds that once this animal is starting to die, we'll call it 50% dead. Why is it 50% dead? Because you caught one of the simanim. If you caught one of the simanim, you no longer can make any of the vital organs a treifa. You can't poke it in the lungs. You can't poke it even if you do, it's not going to do anything. Why? Because you cannot make a dead animal a treifa. And since this animal is 50% dead, you can't make it a treifa. That's what we said in Reb Zera. All of a sudden now you're telling me that Reb Zera asked the question, does this animal give tumah? But of course he understood that it's treif, even though the treif happened when? Between the two simanim. So you see that he regretted it. That it could become treif even after you cut the first siman. Who told you Reb Zera took it back? Maybe Reb Zera holds that you can't make anything treif. You can't make anything treif once you start cutting the trachea. Why? Because the animal is considered dead. What he was asking was only according to Rava. He himself, his personal shita, he holds that once an animal starts dying, you can't make it a treifa. But he was asking, what would Rava hold in such a case? End of the sugya, Rabbi Isai. If it was too much for you, end of the sugya. We got another sugya, even better. Omar Ravacha, listen to this halacha. You're not going to believe this halacha. Listen to this. If a person surgically goes into an animal and detaches its kidney while it's alive, could you eat this kidney? Right now, could you eat the kidney? No, what is that called? Every guy is chayiv misa for every nachai. Let's say you left the kidney in the body, in the cow, and then you shechted the cow. Could you eat the kidney? Silence. But it's detached. Huh? Shchita doesn't help for it. Once something is Ever min achai, it's Ever min achai forever. So if you detach a kidney inside a living animal, and then you shecht it, I got you guys, you see? I'm telling you, this is gishmak stuff today. So I have a question for you. Now let's take the same exact thing and talk about the kishka. Mamash kishka. People used to make kishka from the real kishka, now in their Schultz Aser. What if I detach the kishka inside the animal's body? And then I shecht it. Could I eat the kishka afterwards? Why is it different than a kidney? Same exact thing. So it would be aser. If I detach the kidney, the kishka, while the animal's alive, then it's ever min achai, and then I go ahead and I shecht the animal, can't eat the kishka. What if I shecht? I cut the esophagus, I cut the trachea, I detach the kishka. So for that moment that I detach the kishka, the animal's alive, not halachically, but halachically for a goy. A goy cannot eat an animal until it's 100% dead. A Jew could eat an animal even if it's moving around, as long as you shechted it. Because a goy doesn't have shchita, a goy has nechira. He has halacha, kill it. However you want to but kill it, making sure it's dead. If it's moving like this, it's not dead. So listen to the kasha. Beautiful shaila. Guy shechts, he severs the kana. I'll make it even easier. The way I learned it, I saw in the art school this morning, they didn't learn like me. Okay, I'm learning, you can go with the art school. I'm learning that you cut the esophagus, not the kana. They're learning they cut the kana, so Mamela detach the kidney. But let's say you detach the esophagus also. You cut the esophagus, which is the feeding tube, which is connected to the kishka. It goes directly into the intestine. So for that moment that you cut it, it's Ever Min HaChai for a guy, because the animal's not dead. It takes 20 seconds for the animal to die. So for 20 seconds it's alive with a detached kishka, and a guy's not allowed to eat Ever Min HaChai. Then it died. It's too late. You have a kishka that was Ever Min HaChai for 1 minute. It's Ever Min HaChai for the rest of its existence. So it comes out that a guy cannot eat kishka ever if you shech it. So this is a massive bomb, which the Gemara disagrees with him. From this halacha that if you cut the trachea, you put it into a basket, it's as if it's outside of the body. You can invite a Jew to eat kishka, and you don't. Comes out of Murdik halacha. You cannot have a guy eat your kishka. My timer, Yisrael de b'shchita talyin milsa, a Jew that is dependent on shchita. Once you did a great shchita, even if the animal is still alive for the next 10 minutes, it's mutter right now. The Gemara even says a whole thing in a second, that you shecht an animal, and then you rip a piece of meat right out of its neck when it's still moving, and you eat it. It's as if you ate Ever Min HaChai, but it's not Ever Min HaChai. It's alive, but it's not alive, halachically. But a guy that only works with killing it, it doesn't depend on shchita, but it depends on the death of the animal. So Hanik Ever Min HaChai, this kishka is Ever Min HaChai. Omer Papa, have you seen the kameder of Acha Bar Yaakov Uboy the Emelei? And he asked a simple question: is it possible that a Jew is allowed to eat a certain type of food, but a guy not? We have more dusha than a guy. We have more isurim. We're above. How's it possible? Uboy the Emelei. I wanted to say, Mikim Midi to Yisrael Shari Lo'ed Kechav Masha. Where is there such a thing? But and I didn't say anything to him. Why? He used logic. How am I going to fight logic with a question? However, it sounds like at the end of the day, this kishka thing doesn't work. Why? It says, if a person desires to taste the taste of meat, of a live animal, why would he want to do it? Because the doctors told him it's really healthy. So what should he do? As he's shechting, now the neck is wide open, grab a piece real quick, the animal's still alive, it's still running around, rinse it off, salt it real quickly, and eat it. Oh, and now that you eat it, you tasted the taste of Ever Min HaChai. Is that mutter for a guy or not? Rabbi says, is that mutter for a guy? According to Rav Acha, it's not okay. Why? Because the animal's still alive, so it's Ever Min HaChai. But for a Jew, it's okay. Why? Because it's a shchita. And what does it say over here that it's okay for a guy? So since it says it's okay for a guy, so we have a contradiction to Rav Acha. Why should he wait? Stop, I forgot to point this out in the Hebrew Shiur. He has a point because it says there's an Indian to wait for the animal to die. But for a guy, it says that a guy is allowed to eat such a thing, that there's no problem with Ever Min HaChai. So a guy should be able to eat kishka. If somebody wants to get healthy, he cuts out a piece of meat from the animal, from the area of the shchita, and he adds a lot of salt, and he rinses it off really, really well. It's very, very bloody over there. and he has to wait until the animal dies. So here's a shita that says that there's no such thing as Ever Menachai as you shechting the parts of the v'chulu remain mutter to a guy. Okay, says the Mishnah, brand new. Yeah. Okay, we're going back to the famous halacha. Let me just make sure. Oh. The halacha of when a person wants or enables his fruit or food to become tamei, how does he do so? By pouring water on it, one of the 7 liquids, any one of the 7 liquids. One of the 7 liquids is blood. So, nachamo. In order for fruit or meat, any food, to become tamei, to be susceptible to tumah, you have to be machshir l'kabel tumah. We had that whole beautiful video, which we're not going to show, the chiyutan video. Then what? You have to pour water on it. Meat that you just shechted. Is it susceptible to tumah? L'chayra, yes, because the blood that comes out of the animal touches the animal, and that makes it. What if it doesn't bleed? What if the animal doesn't bleed? So I looked it up on ChatGPT. Is it possible for an animal not to bleed? So first of all, I would assume, it doesn't talk about, I would assume you're not checking the vridim, the jugulars. You're able to go around the jugular. But he says yes. If an animal, I couldn't believe it. I was sure he's going to say no. He says, yeah, if an animal had a heart attack right by the shechita, so the heart stopped working, so it's not pumping the blood out. Another thing is, what if the animal had a tremendous amount of blood loss right before the shechita? Had a hole in its leg, which doesn't make it a treifa, and it lost a ton of blood. It barely has any blood left. So again, it would be very, very low pressure. In such a thing, it's not a treifa. In a situation, it's not a treifa. Bloodletting is not a treifa. You did bloodletting. You took out 50 gallons of blood. Who told you? It's not one of the treifas. It doesn't matter. Who said it can't live? The famous story with the Rambam, that the Rambam had only a little blood left and he lived from it. Okay, so says the Gemara, listen to the Mishnah. Blood did not come out. So the kosher. Your hands that Chacham said are tamei could touch this meat because it's not susceptible to tumah, this meat. Why? Because it didn't have blood. There's no blood that made it mukhshel l'kabel tumah. Reb Shimon Omer, huchshuru b'shchita, says, if you think about it for a second, just the svara behind it, what does mukhshel l'kabel tumah do? It finishes off a product. When you put the water on a fruit, it's finished. So he says, when you shecht it, you finish this animal. You don't need a liquid. The actual shchita creates the susceptibility to tumah. Says Gemara, time of the last time dam.
You never need a liquid?
Reb Shimon says you never need a liquid for meat. For meat, only meat. Time of the last time dam. It's because blood didn't come out, so it's not mukhshel l'kabel tumah, so you can touch it with your dirty hands, with your tumah hands. Hayatam dam. What if blood did come out of it? Ain't it necholim b'yadayim siyavos? You're not allowed to touch it with your derabbanan tummy hands. Amai, why not? Yadayim shniyasem. How much tumah do your hands have? Only a second level of tumah, which is very, very low. Look at it over here on this chart. Look at it. A sheni. What could a sheni do? A sheni could make truma, could do a shlishi to truma and to kachim. But the Mishnah is not talking about truma and kachim. The Mishnah is only talking about chulin. Chulin does not become tamei. I got to show you this video. It's very, very important. Take a look at this. Beautiful how they did it. Basar chulin. You have meat that's chulin that was touched by a dead rat, so it becomes a rishon, a 1. A 1 can make a 2 tamei. That's it. Could a 2 make a 3? No, because it's chulin. What could a 2 do? A 2 could walk off and touch truma, and the truma will come a shlishi. Could a shlishi truma touch another truma thing and make it tamei? No, it stops there. But what could it do? It could walk away and touch kachim. The kachim, they have a Beis Hamikdash hat, and they can make kachim tamei. So that just gives us a basic idea from the top how it works. So says the Gemara, but this, he's a sheni. We saw all the way in the beginning of the video that a sheni, right over here, a basar chulin, it can't do anything. What could a 2 do? Nothing. A 2 is stuck. In this case, it can't do anything. You can't make another chulin tummy. Oh, right over here. Pause. Great. Doesn't work. Yadayim Shni is saying your hands are sheni. Ben sheni yoyser shlishi b'chulin. It can't make a shlishi. Says Gemara, and now I'll prove it to you. We're going to go on a tangent here. Not going to get to the sugya. I'll prove to you that our Mishnah is talking about chulin. Easiest proofs. 4 proofs. How do I know our Mishnah is talking about chulin? In the Mishnah it says chaya, behema chaya v'oif. Could you bring a deer on the Beis Hamikdash? On the Mizbeach? No. So must be talking about chulin. No, be the kachim, chaya v'kachim yika. Visu another raya, v'kachim kilo yotzim em dam ksheira. What? If there's no blood in the Beis Hamikdash, it's kosher. Who has to do that? What's the whole point of having a carbon? It's to sprinkle the blood on the Mizbeach. That's the number one reason. So you need blood. Blood doesn't even help in the Beis Hamikdash. Why? The blood in the Beis Hamikdash is not one of the 7 liquids. You should spill the blood like water. Only blood that spills like water. In the Beis Hamikdash it doesn't spill like water. I catch it. I receive it in a vessel. It's not water. It's important. Another if there's no blood, it's not mushal kabel tumah. Why not? It's something called the love of the Akash Baruch Hu loves kachim. So in that love, the chiba of kodesh, it should become tamei. And where did I come up with something like this? The kai milan. We already passed him. Chibas hakodesh. I don't need blood, just the chiba itself. Says the Gemara. You're right, we're talking about chulin. But what did he do with the chulin? He purchased Meiser Sheni. And Meiser Sheni has tremendous kedusha. It's like truma almost. When your Sheni hands, touch Meiser Sheni, they become tamei. But only according to one man, the Amar, would like Reb Meir. Reb Meir disagrees with that. Where do we see that he disagrees? Anybody has hands that are tamei. Midrabanan, meaning his hands are asheni, mitamis hakodesh, upaislos hatruma. I'm not going to be ma'arech because we're very, very late here, but tamei means that it stops right over there. So when a sheni touches, truma, it stops. It becomes pasul. And when a sheni touches kodesh, it's mitama. Mitama means that it could go on. It could continue making other things tamei. So mitanis hakodesh, your second hands make a kodesh shlishi. That means, what does that mean? That the kodesh that's a shlishi that touches another kodesh, it becomes a revi. But if it touches truma, it stops right there. It becomes tamei. But it says mefurish according to Reb Meir, umuter b'chulin ube meiser. Meiser sheni, hands don't affect at all. The Reb Meir. We're going according to Chachamim. The Chachamim oisrim meiser. Chachamim say. So he answers that our Mishnah is talking about chulin, that he took the chulin money and bought. What happened? He had a bunch of Meiser Sheni at home. He couldn't transfer it to Yerushalayim; it's too heavy. He transferred the gusha of the fruit into money. Now the money becomes kaddish. He went to the Beis Hamikdash, bought to Yerushalayim, bought Meiser Sheni food with it. He took the money, bought any food with it. So the food now becomes kaddish, becomes Meiser Sheni. Now if I touch it, it becomes tamei. We're doing terrible on time, but it's one of these sugis that we have to go slower. Who told you? Maybe when you eat the meiser, it's a problem. You know how to eat meiser sheni when you tamei, when you have second hands. Over here now, we're talking about touching it. We're not talking about eating. And maybe they agree that touching is nothing. That if you touch Meiser Sheni with second hands that are second, the Sheni, it doesn't do anything. I'm going to give the Meiser Chulin like Ligi. V'ha, and by us, Negia, we're talking about touching. How do I know it's talking about touching? They're eaten. It doesn't say you should eat it. It doesn't say Oichlim b'yadayim yisrael. It says ne'echolin. Meaning that even if your friend took it and put it into your mouth, Milo yaskinon because Safi lechavrei. And that wouldn't be a problem. I'll give you a mashal. A very good mashal would be hamoitzi. If I give you a roll to eat, do I have to wash my hands? No. But I'm touching bread. The eater has to wash his hands. Over here also, the guy gave his friend to eat whatever it is, this meat. He doesn't have to wash his hands. He has sheni hands, he doesn't have to wash his hands. That's what we're talking about here. Maybe Chacham agreed that he doesn't have to wash his hands, only the person eating. But we're not talking about the person eating. We're talking about the person that's touching it. And the person that's touching it doesn't have to wash his hands. Mama's like today, bread. If you're feeding a very sick person who can't eat by himself, you put bread in his mouth, who has to wash their hands? The patient, not the guy feeding. So maybe over here also, there's no problem touching it. Even his friend put it in his mouth. Comes Rav Papa and says, Nachama, what's the problem? All the way, let's start again. The Mishnah says that if your hands are a second tumah, then you're allowed to touch, and you're allowed to touch meat that didn't have water on it, didn't have blood on it. But why? If it had blood on it, what's the problem? Your hands are only a second. It's only sheni l'tumah. Answers the Gemara now, because it's not a sheni. It's a rishon l'tumah. We're talking about hands that have the highest level of tumah possible for hands. A rishon. How? You put your hands into a house of a Mitzvah. You stuck it through the window. So now they got a rishon tumah, maybe. And now, if the meat had blood on it, you're going to make a problem. You're going to make a boo-boo. You're going to make it a what? A sheni. It's going to go down one. Your question was your hands are only a sheni. A sheni doesn't affect regular chulin. And our whole Mishnah proves, 4 proofs. How much is talking about chulin? You're right. A sheni can't do anything to chulin. But a rishon could. We're talking about the hands that are a tchila. What's tchila? A rishon. Reb Shimon Elazar, he goes according to Reb Shimon Elazar. This only according to Reb Shimon Elazar. The Shanya. And you dime tchilas for chulin, hands can never become a rishon. But Reb Shimon ben Elazar, Reb Shimon ben Meir, he says in the name of Reb Meir. Who's Reb Meir's Rebbe? Reb Akiva. He says in the name of Reb Meir, you dime tchilas for chulin, shnis l'truma. Hands could become a rishon. And a second for truma, which makes no sense because truma is much more sensitive to chulin. So the Gemara right away asks, "Shnis for chulin in, the truma loy." No, hakikar matchilas after chulin, shnis for truma in, the chulin loy. No, it means of course for truma, but lechulin is not a sheni, only a rishon. What's the case that a hand becomes a rishon? In the sanya, if a person sticks his hands into a mitzvah's house, yodam chilas, his hands become a rishon. Dibri Reb Akiva. Now we have a new man that says a hand could be a rishon, not only Reb Shimon Elazar. The Chachamim yodam shniyos. Stick your hands into a beis hamenuga, your hands become a second. If you stick your hands into a mitzvah house, your whole body does not become tummy. It's an interesting chiddush. Only your hands. Imagine, only part of your body becomes tummy. The question is, am I going to the hands because of the body? They made his hands a rishon. I didn't invent a new category. I'm just going to say Rabbanon. What did I say? Right. Oh, Shavinu Rabbanon. He holds that what? That it's only a sheni. A hand at maximum could be a sheni. Okay. So Nachamo. Whereas we're saying an answer, our mission is talking about a guy who had rishon hands that touched the meat that had blood. If it had blood, it would become tamei. How do you have rishon hands? Because he stuck his hands into the Mitzvah's house. Says the Gemara, "V'look at Reb Akiva." It's much better. Why are you telling me it goes like Reb Shimon ben Elazar when I have a Reb Akiva here? Reb Akiva, "V'look at Reb Akiva." Now Reb Akiva happens to be Reb Meir's Rebbe. The Dama Yadav Tchilas Havyon. Reb Akiva is Reb Meir's Rebbe. Reb Meir is the one that we brought before. B'Shem Reb Meir. Where did Reb Meir get it from? From Reb Akiva. So just go to the source. Say that Reb Akiva holds that your hands can become a rishon. Maybe he only said his halacha by things that are very sensitive, like truma and kachim. I want somebody that says specifically about chulin that your hands become a rishon. As the Gemara, a bomb question. What are you telling me? That according to Reb Akiva, maybe when it comes to chulin, your hands are not a rishon, your hands are only a sheni. Guess what? Reb Akiva holds that a sheni hand could mess up meat that became wet. The Hashamina later Reb Akiva, the Amar Sheni oisa shlishi b'chulin. He holds that a sheni makes a shlishi in chulin. This nan, boy bayoin darash Reb Akiva. That very day. What's the very day? The famous says Rashi The day Reb Elazar ben Azariah, Harei Aniki ben Shimshon, we say in the Seder, that day that he took over from Gamliel to become the Nasi, so they added 400 benches in the Beis HaMedrash. You imagine, thousands of new Bachrim come into the Beis HaMedrash to learn, and they're all asking all the questions they had their entire life. So that day a lot of new Chidushim happened. And one of the Chidushim was this, that Rebbe Akiva had to get up and say, because Kli Cheres Yitma, it says everything. Let me show you the video real quickly. This is perfect for now. This dead mouse is Avatuma. Wow, we're super late. Unbelievable. Okay. A Kli Cheres, earthenware, only comes Tameh from the ear space. So the entire oven becomes a what? A Rishon. The food inside the oven become a Sheni. Could a Sheni make a Shlishi? Says Rebbe Akiva, yes. This bread, if it touches another bread, the bread will become a Shlishi. We didn't know that before. That's only Shitas Rebbe Akiva. Okay. So we stop over there. Let's see it inside. Yitma. Tomei le'nemar eli Yitma. It says, it doesn't become Tomei. It has the power to give off Tumah weiter. The Tama Acherim. The Sheni has the power to make a Shlishi. Limit al Kikar Sheni teaches us about a bread. Mamash, we just saw it on the video. A bread that's a Sheni, Shuois a Shlishi. B'chulin. And here we finish off for today. So, and that's Reb Akiva. So just say it's the Reb Akiva. Dilma Anami Lebetum Deraisa. Maybe it's referring to Tumah Deraisa, but the Rabbanon Loi. Oh, we were talking about hands. Hands are only Tumah with the Rabbanon. So that's the Rabbanon Tumah doesn't have the koyach and the power to make a shlishi, a sheni, a shlishi by chulin. Rabbi Sai, have a wonderful day.
Merit the schus of spreading Torah throughout the world. Sponsor a shiur today. MDYsponsor.com or sponsor at MDYDaf.com.